on YouTube. You're good to go.
Very good. Thanks, Joe. I'll call this meeting to order. We've got a quorum. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. Amy, for record keeping purposes, do you mind doing a roll call attendance just so everyone knows who is here?
Sure. President Garrett?
Here.
Vice President Traylor?
Here.
Councilor Burke?
Here.
Councilor Choi?
Here.
Councilor Culp?
Here.
Councilor Melton?
Here.
And Councilor Plunkett?
Here.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Thank you, Amy. We've got approval of the memorandum of the July 20th, 2020 regular meeting. A copy has been posted. Unless there's any discussion, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second from Councilor Burke. Amy, do you do a roll call vote on this, please?
President Garrett?
Yes.
Vice President Traylor?
Yes.
Councilor Burke?
Yes.
Councilor Choi?
Yes.
Councilor Culp?
Yes.
Councilor Melton?
Yes.
And Councilor Plunkett?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. The memorandum of the May 18th, 2020 regular town council meeting is approved by a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Next up, we have request to speak. Anyone who's wishing to speak can raise their hand electronically and we will call on them.
Okay, we have one.
Amy, I see one. If you could promote Mr. Triscari.
Okay, I just promoted him to a panelist.
Very good. Mr. Triscari, you are on. I think you know the drill by this point, but please give your name and address, and you have 3 minutes or 6 minutes if you're representing you and your wife to speak.
Yes, my name is Craig Triscari at 3270 Paddock Road with Barbara Triscari. I'd just like to add again that I fought 4 wars for this country. I've served this country and killed other human beings for this country that went against this country. To sit for the national anthem or the Pledge of Allegiance is disrespectful. If you want to go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance, turn off your screens, have the voice over and do that. But sitting down is complete and utter disrespect for our flag and our country. As of 8/3/20, Van Trust has still failed to run a 8-inch water line into Saratoga after the November 2018 ordinance passing. Van Trust is still in violation of total disregard to Zionsville official commitment letter. It seems this company is incapable of holding to a commitment, and this board fails to enforce their own public commitments to the community of Perry Township and Zionsville rural community. Last year, tax increase for Perry Zionsville for my property was up 10%. That increase alone equals more money than Zionsville put into Perry Township, Zionsville rural community in 5 years. The mayor and the president of this board hold a question and answer session every other week. In that meeting, both are afraid to publicly admit that Zionsville has put 0 funding to the rural community, as well as clueless on what dates water lines will go into a very small portion of Southern Perry Township, paid by this poorly run and well-destroying Van Trust Corporation. People in Perry Township should know that they can request review of their property taxes during May and the beginning of June time period. Next year, you can request to pay less on taxable income on your house due to the fact that Zionsville failed to adhere to their comprehensive plan, disregarded zoning buffering, disregarded road issues, placed the community in revitalization zone, jeopardized water supply, increased likelihood of water contamination, and gave these industrial structures a 56% tax giveaway. The percentage of industrial giveaway is laughable, and the community should be disgusted and in horror of these requested tax giveaways of 56% on average for 10 years. They only pay 44% given your current stats. If you plan to buy a home within Zionsville address, be cautious. The leadership doesn't abide by their comprehensive plan, nor do they care about your property values. Homeowners on 421 or near highways look to reduce your taxes to Zionsville based on the reckless development. This leadership, to include the town council team, has provided to date zero value added for the greater rural Zionsville community. Thank you.
Josh, you're muted.
Yes, I am. I'll start over. Thank you, Mr. Triscari, and thank you for your service. We will now move on to new business. First up, we've got an ordinance to authorize the use of purchasing cards. This is ordinance 2020-07. Tammy, I've got you listed. Tammy Harvard. Howard, I'm sorry. We'll need to promote her on this.
Okay. She has been promoted to a panelist.
Tammy, do you want to give a little bit of background here for council on what this is?
Absolutely. Council President, members of council, I'm Tammy Hubbard, your new CFO for the town of Zionsville. In an effort to create efficiencies in the town's processes, we'd like to provide purchasing cards to employees making purchases on the town's behalf. We plan to utilize the state purchasing card program with the added benefit that all the spend of the participating governments is pooled to increase the rate on purchases that each get back in the form of an annual rebate. A common concern that we've heard with purchase cards is an increase for misuse of public funds. In reality, the cards have a greater level of accountability as there are multiple approvals, detailed reporting, and the ability to implement granular spend type control and purchase control limits. Unlike department credit cards where it may be unclear who has the card at any given time, the purchase cards are in the employee's name. So this is important as the employee is fully responsible for the use and can be held accountable. If a detailed receipt is not provided, the employee will be required to reimburse the town. All this information is in the purchase card manual, which you all received a copy of on July 15th. I've utilized the purchase card program for 10 years prior to coming to Zionsville, and my chief deputy, Cindy Poore, has over 3 years experience with the program as well. We're looking forward to streamlining the small and large purchases on the cards so the town can focus value add time on other activities while reducing the administrative overhead of adding vendors and cutting individual checks. This is just the introduction tonight. The adoption consideration will be on August 17th, and I'm available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy. Councilors, any questions for Tammy on this process?
Hey, Tammy, Brad, Breck, I just have one question, and I'm super familiar with this as well for at least a decade. Who all would be eligible to receive the card? Is it, I mean, obviously not every employee. Is there a number in mind?
So we're going to start the implementation with just the department heads and their main purchasers. So the ones that are currently borrowing the department credit cards would be the first level. We'll test out all the approvals and get everything worked out. But really, we do want to extend it to the employees that will be traveling, for instance, or making any kind of purchases on behalf of the town. This program would replace the town store accounts and things like that, which have less controls than having the purchase card. And so we hope to implement this and really not necessarily limit it to just the people that are using it on a more frequent basis, because we want to be able to eliminate the reimbursements to the employees. So they should have access to the card.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Tammy?
President Garrett, if I might just make a couple comments, if that's okay,
Sure,
for
Heather.
the council.
Yeah,
So
please.
Tammy and Amy and I worked really closely on this, and I appreciate all the hard work that she's given us to get this completed for your consideration. A couple things I wanted to note: we previously had a credit card ordinance, and one of the things we wanted to do in the revisions to the ordinance is make it as flexible as possible for the administration to always be looking at the most cost-efficient and effective way to purchase. So we've incorporated by reference the manual that will be updated periodically and will be provided to the council upon request. I know that Tammy already provided you with a copy. The other thing, importantly, is we wanted to make sure there was still a clear checks and balances on spending. So in section 6 of the proposed ordinance, we've put in place some language that said All charges used with the purchase cards would be presented to the town council for approval as part of our monthly approval of claims. Tammy shared with me that oftentimes it might come from a vendor and it might say, we paid X vendor, $1,000, but it doesn't really break down in detail what that $1,000 was made up of or who the purchaser was for those particular goods or services. So this will be a supplement to give us some additional detail, and we think that'll be a great way to make sure that you're still clear on what the town is spending, but provide the flexibility to the administration as well.
Thanks, Heather. Appreciate that. Any other questions or entertain a motion on this ordinance number 2020-07?
I've moved to adopt the motion.
Got a first from Councilor Burke. This is to introduce on first reading. I have a second.
I will second.
Second from Councilor Culp. Amy, you know the drill.
Okay. President Garrett,
Yes.
Vice President Traylor,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Choi,
Yes.
Councilor Culp,
Yes.
Councilor Melton,
Yes.
and Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 2020-07 is introduced with a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate it. Next up, we've got a resolution declaring an economic revitalization area. This is for Prologis LP. This is resolution number 2020-10. Mr. Price, I see you are already available and ready to speak on this matter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. For the record, my name is Matt Price. I'm an attorney with Denton's with an address of 10 West Market Street in Indianapolis, Indiana. Here this evening representing Prologis. With me tonight is Amy Zepka, who's available as an attendee on the telephone, as I understand. You may recall this property was rezoned at the council meeting back on July 20. It is approximately at the northwest corner of County Road 550 and State Road 267. And it consists of 2 anticipated buildings of 550,000 square feet, total anticipated investment of $47,650,000. And kind of as we've discussed over the last couple of months, this is another proposal seeking to avail itself of the very strong logistics marketplace that's being created in Western Zionsville along the I-65 corridor and in close proximity to the interchanges, both at State Road 267 and the new contemplated midpoint interchange. We'd be seeking what we've discussed in the past is the standard tax abatement for this marketplace. This, like the previous resolution, this is the initial step, would allow for a public hearing to be noticed. And then should this be adopted this evening, the council would then be able to conduct a public hearing at a subsequent council meeting and complete the process of adopting a confirmatory resolution should it determine to go forward with this abatement request. As we discussed, Prologis is really an international leader in the logistics business. They are experiencing very significant uptick in business with very high absorption rates for this type of use, due in no small measure to the nation's response to the pandemic and the growing acceptance of e-commerce applications. So we would respectfully request your consideration favorably tonight of the declaratory resolution and look forward to answering any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Price. Councilors, any questions for Mr. Price? I know we've talked about this project once before, but this is a little bit of a nuance to it, but happy for him to answer any questions you may have. All right. Well, if there are no questions, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that Councilor Plunkett?
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Amy, can you run us through the roll call?
Sure. President Garrett,
Yes.
Vice President Trailer,
Yes.
Counselor Burke,
Yes.
Counselor Choi,
Yes.
Counselor Culp,
Yes.
Counselor Melton,
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Very good. Resolution number 2020-10 passes with a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Related to that is our next and last new piece of business, which is the approval of real property tax abatement application. This is also for Prologis LP. Matt, do you want to talk about this piece of this or this step?
Yes, the application is really comprised of the exhibits to the resolution just adopted. I think in the past, we've just incorporated that as part of the adoption of the resolution for tonight. It was separated out into a separate action item, which we certainly have no objection to, but it reiterates or sets forth as far as the anticipated investment and the request for the specific standard tax abatement. Again, though, all subject to final adoption following a public hearing.
Makes sense, and I think we kept them separate only just out of transparency and making sure that everyone knew what they were voting on, but no concerns here. Councilors, any questions on that nuance related again to the same project that Mr. Price is speaking about? I see head shaking no. Any motions on this one?
Counselor Plunkett, I'd make a motion to approve.
Got a first from Councilor Plunkett.
Counselor Choi, seconding.
Second from Councilor Choi. Amy, can you run through this?
Sure. President Garrett,
Yes.
Vice President Trailer,
Yes.
Counselor Burke. Counselor Burke, I did not hear you. Okay.
Brad, you're on mute.
You're muted.
Sorry, yes.
There we go.
Okay. Thank you. Counselor Choi,
Yes.
Counselor Culp,
Yes.
Counselor Melton,
Yes.
Counselor Plunkett.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Very good. The tax abatement application is approved with a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Next, move on to other matters. Typically, we don't have any other matters. I did have one quick thing I wanted to bring up for council and for the community in general. ZPD K9 Jelka was retired on July 31st and unfortunately had to be put down for medical reasons. She was a female Malinois Shepherd, very beautiful dog, who joined ZPD in September of 2016 after 6 weeks of initial training. And I believe I was a part of the training. I wore one of those bite suits and she came after me as part of that training. She started on patrol with Corporal Josh Stutzman and was working the night shift. She came up in the news every once in a while with searches she had found and drugs she had found. Both Corporal Stutzman and Jelka, worked tirelessly and was a very respected K9 team within the department and especially outside agencies. It was a pretty touching moment with those agencies and ZPD coming together to say goodbye to Jelka at the veterinary hospital. So anyways, we appreciate so much Jelka's service to our community and certainly are grieving with the Stutzman family on this loss, which is a loss for them personally and certainly a loss for us as a community. So I just wanted that to be recognized and part of the record here for our meeting. Unless there's any other matters from councilors, we've got the approval of claims. Any questions on claims before we go into making a motion?
I have a question, Counselor Plunkett, and I don't know who would answer this, but in just looking at the claims through the year to date, we budgeted 2020 $466,000 in legal fees, and we are currently year to date at 347. At this pace, it looks like we'd come out just a tick under 600,000. So that brings us to about $129,000 over what we budgeted for those legal fees. My question is, where would those dollars come from when we exceed that budgeted amount? And is that something that requires council approval, or is that just a reappropriation? Well, I guess reappropriations do require council approval. So do we know where that money would come from?
Amy, I see you promoted Tammy. Tammy, not to put you on the spot, but is that a question you might be able to address for Councilor Plunkett?
Yes, absolutely. So you are correct. We would first look to reappropriate dollars that were already part of the budgeted 2020 numbers. And if there is not enough appropriation planned to be able to be moved, then the next step would be go to council for an additional appropriation. And all of those would go before council, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Tammy, let me ask, obviously we would exceed the number that Councilor Plunkett acknowledged if we were to continue on a particular pace, but is it in fact that maybe some of those fees were front loaded in the first 6 months of the year, and we're not looking to exceed by double the amount where we are at this point?
Absolutely, that's something that we can look into. I know in past experience that there's been times that there's quarterly fees and maybe 2 of them are paid at once and things like that. So yes, we would absolutely look at where we are and what the pace is expected to be. So is it monthly fees that we're incurring, or are they quarterly, annual, semi-annual? Good point.
Very good. Any other questions on claims? If not, I'll make a motion to approve claims as we receive them.
Second.
Is there a second from Vice President Traylor? Amy?
Okay. President Garrett,
Yes.
Vice President Traylor,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Choi,
Yes.
Councilor Culp,
Yes.
Councilor Melton,
Yes.
Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Claims are approved by a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. I saw Councilor Burke do the peace sign, so I'll give him credit for it, just in front of you, Alex. Amy?
Okay. President Garrett,
Yes.
Vice President Traylor,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Choi,
Yes.
Councilor Culp,
Yes.
Councilor Melton,
Yes.
and Councilor Plunkett.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good. Motion to adjourn approved by a vote of 7 in favor, 0 opposed. You can join us tonight at 8 o'clock for Chief Knox's retirement ceremony here on the lawn of our town hall. And the next regular town council meeting is scheduled for Monday, August 17th, 2020 at 7:30 a.m. This will be an electronic meeting. Notice will be posted in compliance with the Indiana open door law. Members of the public shall have the right to attend town council public meetings via the following forms of electronic communication. A Zoom link will be provided in the meeting notice. That is it, folks. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Good night.